I've had my ASUS ROG Ally X for about 9 months, and throughout those 9 months, I've tested and reviewed several PC handhelds on this channel. But even still, regardless of its flaws, I still find myself going back to the ASUS ROG Ally X. With the power of the Z1 Extreme chipset, I've been able to play the majority of the games that I want to play on this handheld without any issues at all, and it has quickly become my daily driver. It's just about time that I finally accepted that. Now you might be telling yourself that, well, Rudy, there is an ASUS ROG Ally, the original one that came out, and that might be the better option for me because of the price. And you're right, at $450, the Z1 Extreme chipset still performs well despite having less RAM there and less battery. But all of the minute improvements that have been put into the Ally X just make it the clear choice if you have the budget for it. I've done a whole comparison video on this already if you want to go ahead and check that out. But if you're in the market for getting a PC handheld, it's easy to recommend the ASUS ROG Ally X. If you're willing to pay a little bit more money, you will get a more premium experience, and the battery that you get on this thing is awesome. There are mods that are out there for the ROG Ally where you can install a larger battery, as well as different tweaks and things that you can do to increase the overall experience that's there. But at the end of the day, if you don't want to tinker, if you don't want to mess with stuff, and you just want something that works right out of the box and has all of the bells and whistles that you would want without any modding, then go with the Ally X. You'll have a better overall experience. In terms of performance, yes, the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus is out there, and I've done a comparison between the Ally X as well as the MSI Claw, and yes, you are going to get more frames and everything like that, but there are some drawbacks that are there in between the two. Pricing wise, the Ally X is still $799 for the 1TB version and $899 for the 2TB version. Now, during the holidays, I did see the price drop from $799 to $699 for the 1TB version. The 2TB stayed the same. If you're considering getting something like this, you might be able to find it over the holidays at $699 or $749. And since the Z2 Extreme chipsets are going to be released, we're going to get new handhelds more than likely, then this might be something to consider if you are looking at something and you don't want to go with the latest and greatest, but you're okay going with one generation back and still having that solid performance and having a mature platform overall. Spec-wise, everything that you see on screen is pretty much self-explanatory, but there are a couple of things that I do want to go ahead and mention. First and foremost, the 7-inch IPS LCD screen is 1080p and 120 hertz, and then you also have your 80 watt-hour battery. The Wi-Fi is 6E and Bluetooth is 5.2, and the overall weight is 673 grams. Now, the reason why I wanted to mention those things is because when you're playing on a handheld, those typically are some of the most important things that you want to look at. You want to look at the refresh rate of the screen, as well as the screen size, the battery, as well as the weight. All of those things affect your overall experience that you're going to have on this handheld. Of course, the chipset is also important, the Z1 Extreme processor that we talked about earlier, and at the end of the day, it is no slouch. It handles all of the things that I've thrown at it with relative ease. There are some times where it chugs along, but you can use FSR technology in order to get a better overall experience in terms of frames by upscaling from 720 or 900p onto a 1080p screen. I still find it funny that through the unboxing experience, you essentially get the handheld, some documentation, and then the AC adapter, and finally a little piece of cardboard to hold up your handheld in a docking mode of some kind. Now, the ASUS ROG Ally X doesn't come with a docking station of any kind. In fact, most of the PC handhelds that are out there, they don't come with a docking station, and some brands, they don't even offer a first-party solution for your PC handheld. Ivanki, though, they've got you covered. They have plenty of experience making multiple docks depending on your wants and needs for your gaming experience. Here I have the Ivanki gaming dock with RGB lighting, and this is a 14-in-1 connectivity monster. You can connect all sorts of things on here to your gaming handheld, and rest assured, you'll be covered. You have 4K at 120 hertz, which means that you're going to have a clear experience when gaming, an Ethernet port, as well as 100 watt power input support and 65 watt max charging output directly onto your handheld, 3.5mm jack, plenty of USB-A ports, some supporting up to 10 gigabits per second, as well as a USB-C port that supports 10 gigabits per second, a microSD card reader, a regular SD card reader, and even an additional USB-A 2.0 port on the side. That way you can can connect a controller or a wireless keyboard or mouse, whatever it may be. And there's an adjustable stand, that way you can get the perfect angle whenever you're gaming in tabletop mode. And if by any chance you want to turn off that RGB and have a more subtle stealth look, all you gotta do is just push the button and boom, you're done. Now, not only does this work on the ASUS ROG Ally X, but it also works on the original Ally, the MSI Claw 7 AI Plus, the 8 AI Plus, the Steam Deck, even the Legion Go. Whatever you want, you can throw at it and it'll work just fine. Now, if you're ready to get one of these for yourself, I'll have a link down in the description below. Now, the overall build quality of the ASUS ROG Ally X definitely leaves nothing to be desired for me personally, but I did run into some problems that I think bear mentioning. First and foremost, when I was at CES this year, when I was flying back, I noticed that the volume rocker was jammed, and I didn't really think much about it. I was like, oh, you know, maybe something like accidentally broke or it slipped or it's out of place, but it turns out that the actual button that I used to push up on the volume rocker broke, which I found very, very odd. I baby all of my tech. I make sure that it's in tip-top shape and that it's taken care of and that's in a case whenever I'm not using it or in a bag of some kind. I was kind of taken aback. So I RMA'd it, and the process was relatively quick. It took roughly around 2 weeks to finally get my handheld back. But when I got it back, I guess we should talk about the elephant in the room. The A button is totally not in the right place. It's actually a little bit skewed, which is fine. I'm okay with it. I've accepted it. And to be honest with you, I can take it apart and actually switch it and position it in the right location. But it kind of grew onto me. So I kind of just left it as is. Now, in terms of the ergonomics, the feel, and the overall layout of things, I've gotten used to it. When I first got this, I noticed how much thicker the Ally X is compared to the original Ally. And this is simply because of the fact that there is much more ventilation, not only in the back of the motherboard on this side, but also on the front in between the motherboard and the screen itself. It's just much better in order to keep the handheld cool, and you can get much better performance because of the cooling that's there. The design of the fans allow for much better cooling, but also at a lower dB. So you get not only more improvement in terms of speed and efficiency, but also weight as well because they're smaller. The overall experience on here is just phenomenal. The only thing is that the grips that are here are not on par with, let's say, for example, the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck for me is by far the most ergonomic PC handheld to date, bar none. And this comes close, but it's still kind of uncomfortable. And I think it's because of the fact that this is a 16:9 screen, whereas the Steam Deck is a 16:10 screen. I didn't really realize how much I wanted to have a larger screen until I got to the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus. Having that 16:10 screen just makes the handheld feel larger, but also the screen itself feel larger too, despite it, being 7 inches versus 8 inches. But regardless of that, it just has a better presence that's there. The screen on the ASUS ROG Ally X is fine at 1080p, 120 Hz. It does the job, and the color representation on the screen is on par with some of the best LCD panels that I have seen. I honestly haven't ran into any issues where I wanted to get more out of the screen that's there. The only thing that I notice is that the viewing angles are off. And really the only way that I can actually show that is actually having this in a dark room and showing you exactly where the lighting is. This is kind of the first time that it actually stood out to me, because when I was playing in the dark on my couch while everyone was sleeping in the house, I realized that, man, this is a really focal point in terms of lighting. But aside from that, that's really the only drawback that I can find when it comes to the screen itself. When it comes to software, ASUS has done a really good job of updating Armoury Crate and getting it to the point to where things just run well. Now, I'm not going to say that it's going to be hiccup free, because this is Windows after all, and things are always a little tiny bit loosey-goosey when it comes down to things. But Command Center also comes up without any issues the majority of the time. And whenever there are some instances where things, get snagged up for whatever reason, you can either close and restart the app or close down everything and restart the actual handheld itself, and things run pretty well. I'm not going to do a full tour of Armoury Crate. I've done that in my original review, which you can go ahead and check up here. But at the end of the day, things, guys, it works. And I've personally got no complaints when it comes to something just working. Now, the majority of the titles that I do have are on Steam. There are a couple where it's on Epic or GOG, but for the most part, everything just runs as it should. Now, for me personally, I prefer Bazzite over Windows, which is where I spend the majority of my time gaming. And flashing Bazzite onto your ASUS ROG Ally X is actually pretty easy. I've done a video on that as well if you want to go and check that out. But because there is Bazzite running on this handheld, I've just found myself gravitating to this handheld more than anything else. There are some titles that don't play well with Bazzite, and you're going to have to go back into Windows in order to play them. Most of them are multiplayer games or games that have any sort of anti-cheat that they need Windows in order to go ahead and run. There are some games that don't run on Bazzite, despite technically they should be running on Bazzite, but you have to go to Windows in order for them to work. I'm looking at you, Monster Hunter Wilds, but regardless, I digress. At the end of the day, I like to use Bazzite whenever I can, just because it makes things much more easier. And because of that smooth, easy experience of being able to just jump into a game with Bazzite, it made it easy to just go with ROG Ally X. This is in part why I'm so excited to see Valve release official Steam OS builds for all of these handhelds. That way we can see how it impacts things and whether or not Steam OS is better than Bazzite, how that affects performance overall, and just the experience that we're going to get on these handhelds. It's an exciting time when it comes to all of these handhelds and the software that are coming out for them. ASUS set the standard when it comes to battery life on PC handhelds. The 80 watt-hour battery that you find in the Ally X is it's absolutely awesome. You can get anywhere between 2 hours of battery life all the way up to almost 10 hours depending on the TDP that you're using on this thing. Now, there are 3 different modes that come baked into Armoury Crate. You have your 25 watt, your 17 watt, and then your 13 watt. Respectively, they're your turbo, performance, and silent mode. And technically, you could also lower down that wattage even further if you want to save even more battery life. So depending on the games, you can manually set things even lower. Now, with your turbo mode, that 25 watt mode, you're looking at roughly around 2 hours and 8 minutes of battery life. On performance, the 17 watt mode, you're looking at roughly around 3 hours and 10 minutes, give or take. And then on silent mode, that 13 watt mode, you can get anywhere between 5 hours all the way up to about 8.5 hours of battery life, if not further. This is all dependent on the games and the TDP that's there, because there are some instances where you're gonna get a little boost or a little overclock that's gonna go over that set wattage that's there. On top of that, if you want to lower even further, like I did, then you can get anywhere between 8, 9, or even almost 10 hours at a 10 watt TDP. When I was flying from Europe to the United States, I had a pretty long flight and I had a lot of time to kill. So I played roughly around an hour, hour and a half of Elden Ring at performance mode. And then I added a custom TDP at 10 watts and I was playing Dave the Diver, Celeste, Hollow Knight, all of these 2D titles that don't really require that much horsepower, and that extended my gaming session all the way to almost 8 hours of total playtime. Honestly, it's awesome what ASUS has done with this 80 watt-hour battery on this handheld. Game performance on the Ally X is absolutely fantastic, but there are some caveats. And the reason why I say that is because there are some instances where games just come out and they're really poorly unoptimized. Kind of like Monster Hunter Wilds, that's a really big recent example, or Spider-Man 2, that came out and it did not run well at all. Even using things like frame generation or even upscaling, it doesn't run well. Despite that though, I do think that if you want to increase the frame rate, frame generation can be a good tool, but it isn't something that should be used as a crutch, something that is just there to inevitably get the game to go over 60 FPS. A game should run at least at like 50, 55, and then use frame generation to put it over the hump, maybe even 45 frames per second. But even then, you're going to notice a little bit of latency. Now, I personally recommend, if you're going to go with the Windows side, to use lossless scaling 3.0. That beta that's out there right now, it has improved latency so much that it's kind of impressive how good it is. If you are on the Bazzite side or the Steam OS side, you do have a frame gen mod through DekiLoader that you can go ahead and install, but not everything is going to play nice. I'm looking specifically at you, Spider-Man 2. So it really depends depends on what it is that you're trying to do, the games that you're trying to play. But there are some instances, like I was playing Resident Evil 4, where I could get 55 frames per second. And because of that VRR screen that is on the Ally X, things look smooth. So again, it really just depends on the different settings that are there, what it is that you're trying to do, and the technology that you're using, either upscaling or frame generation, in order to get over or close to that 60 FPS mark. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows. There are some instances where things just don't work how they should. On the original Ally, that was the SD card reader, where you would pretty much put in any SD card into your unit and it would fry it, or it just wouldn't be legible at all. On the Ally X, I haven't had that problem at all. And aside from the volume rocker situation that I talked to you about earlier in the video, I haven't had any other issues with my Ally X. Based Derek, who is another YouTuber, I'll have a link down to his channel below. He started talking to me about a black screen issue that pops up when you push Y on your Ally X. After looking online, this is a little bit more of a widespread issue, but my assumption is that ASUS is looking into it. If you have run into this problem, let me know down in the comment section below with a little bit more details in exactly what happened. That way I can forward it to my contact over at ASUS and they could forward it to their team. That way they can go ahead and fix the issue via an update. If there are any other problems that have popped up, if you're an Ally X user or if you heard some things, let me know down in the comments. So who exactly is the ASUS ROG Ally X for? Well, for me, I think it would be for me, honestly, somebody that wants to be able to play their games on the go and have the flexibility and options of either going with Windows or going with Bazzite. The majority of the games that I play are in Bazzite anyways, and using that on the Ally X with the Z1 Extreme chip and the battery, just everything culminates together to a beautiful handheld experience. If you want that flexibility of being able to go into Windows, that is something that you can do if you want to. But at the end of the day, if you want to be able to just play the games that you want to play, this is the handheld that I would recommend to most people, bearing that you have the budget for it. If you want to go with the original ROG Ally, that is still something that is viable even to this day. So what do you guys think of the ASUS ROG Ally X? Is this something that is too little too late with the Z2 line coming out right around the corner? Or are you considering getting this for yourself? You will be satisfied with the Z1 Extreme. Let me know down in the comments below. And if you want to hear my thoughts on the MSI Claw 8 AI Plus versus the ASUS ROG Ally X, then click this video over here. And if you want to learn how to install Bazzite OS on not only your Ally X, but any other PC handheld, then follow this link over here. And until next time, guys, I will see you on the next one. Peace.